While the later half of the 2020 season had some big news for the mountain market from SkiDoo, when it comes to 2021, it's going to be a whole lot more about smaller changes to the trail market.
So for 2021, we have a new rear and front suspension, but also a new ski. So we call it the rMotion X, RAS X at the front, and the new Pilot X ski. This new suspension will be available on the MXZ X and XRS, but also the Renegade X and XRS, so a spring-only order for this year. For 2021, the new RAS X is actually a wider suspension, first of all, so a wider upper A-arm, wider lower A-arm as well, but also a new spindle for this new suspension. So the goal was to be wider to have better cornering performance. So the first thing the rider will feel with the new RAS X suspension, the flatness of the sled. We developed both the rear suspension and the front together to have a balanced sled, so it is flatter in the corner for better cornering performance and more precision. So the new Pilot X ski has been introduced with the new suspension because we wanted to make sure that it was at par with that suspension. What we wanted to improve was the precision of the ski in cornering, but also to have less darting. So it's a brand new ski that will deliver a new performance, especially in corner.
While the chassis stays the same, it's the geometry of the front suspension that's changed greatly, and what it's designed to do is keep the front inside ski from lifting in corners.
So the combination of the new Pilot X ski and RAS X front suspension is the benefit was first to meet better cornering performance, but also better bumps absorption, but also stability into the bumps. So the combination of both will bring all those advantages and fun factor to the consumer. With the new RAS X suspension, but also with the new Pilot X ski, we're really looking at the corner and how the sled behave into the corner, so how we enter into the corner, so being flat, and when we go out of the apex to make sure that we can give some throttle and keep the sled very flat to keep a level of confidence to have the fun factor on trail. This is not a minor change, this is a dramatic improvement.
Out back, the rMotion X is aimed at making the ride of the rear suspension even better than the previous generations.
So the main change we did to the rMotion to bring in rMotion X, first it's the front arm, or what we call sometimes the torque arm, is longer by about 30 millimeters. So the goal was to have less transfer and to keep the sled more flat. The new rMotion X suspension also have what we call a weight transfer adjuster. So the riders will be able to adjust the position of the front arm to be either higher or lower to have more or less transfer. So for North America, most of the consumer will adjust it for less transfer, but in the Midwest US or Scandinavia, they may prefer to have more transfer to the sled. So now it's possible to adjust it in your garage. So on the rMotion X, we also have the longest shock we ever used on the snowmobile. Okay, thanks to the geometry and these new shocks, we will have the greatest rising rate compared to the rMotion. So for the rMotion X, because we get rid of the 120 track length, we optimized the rear suspension for the 129 and 137 track length. So we have a brand new rear arm, and all of this together we could save about 5 pounds of suspended weight out of that suspension.
Up on top of the sled is a new high-definition gauge package that has quite a few cool new features.
For 2021, we have a brand new gauge that is a high-definition digital gauge that comes with, we call a rotary switch to control the gauge. So the most important benefit of that new gauge is first, it is Bluetooth connection. You can connect your phone to have music and to take phone calls, and it can be connected with the communicator set up on your helmet. Another important feature for the gauge, so we have a phone placeholder right here, so you keep your phone warm, so it can work for all your ride, all the day. You can display your phone on the right side of the gauge, so you can have access to some apps, but also to a new BRP and navigation apps. So the new gauge also comes with a rotary control, a bit like in some cars where you can control your gauge with a rotary. It's really user-friendly, so you can control the gauge. You also have new button right here, so you can take phone very quickly with your hand on the steering bar or change the volume when you listen music, for instance. As we speak, we have 2020 models with the new rear and front suspension that are being delivered to your dealers. So you can contact your dealer and you may have a chance to demo this new suspension.
Now on top of RAS X, rMotion X, and the all-new high-definition gauge package, there was also the Summit 850 Turbo from this season. And while we are typically used to SkiDoo releasing all of their new products only for spring order the next year, 2020's been an interesting year. Well, actually 2020.5 as they've been referring to it. Now, one new area SkiDoo is venturing into is the Sport lineup. Typically found in an older chassis, the Sport for 2021 is now full G4, but with a twist. A single 600cc fuel-injected 85 horsepower motor is the only option for power and comes in a Sport MXZ, Renegade, and a Sport Backcountry, opening up the entire entry-level possibilities to a broader range of users. There's more basic shocks and a reduced feature digital gauge, but besides that, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and the retail price is very enticing. Now, speaking of retail, the other end of the spectrum, the 850 Turbo, is finding its way into more sleds. No, not a trail sled, but now the full lineup of Summits, as well as the freeride lineup with offerings in different track lengths for 2021 season. With extra power available at higher altitudes, will the Summit be the king of the mountain, and will other manufacturers have an answer? And as of right now, you're just going to have to sit tight and see, because right now there's a battle going on between SkiDoo and Polaris like we've never seen in the industry, and the technology that they're putting into these sleds is like nothing we could have ever imagined. If you like what you've just seen, click the subscribe button and comment below, and make sure you check out all of our great videos on SnowTreks TV's YouTube channel.